What does it take for someone who never looks back to finally break? You have watched them walk away before, calm, collected, shoulders squared. They made it look easy, like leaving you was just closing a door. No hesitation, no second glance. And you stood there wondering if you ever meant anything at all. But here is what nobody tells you. The person who leaves the easiest is often the one who suffers the most in silence. They just hide it better. Let me take you behind the mask today. There comes a moment in every avoidance life when their own walls turn against them. The same walls that protected them for years become a prison. The same distance that felt like freedom starts to feel like starvation. And in that moment, something inside cracks. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. That crack is the beginning of their breaking point. And when they break, they do not just miss you a little. They miss you in a way that changes their entire nervous system. Here is what I am going to give you by the end of this video. You will understand the 4 stages of an avoidance breakdown. You will recognize the signs they are suffering even when they smile. And most importantly, you will know why their silence right now might be the loudest proof that you mattered more than anyone else ever did. Stick with me until the end, because the final stage will reveal something most psychologists do not even talk about. A moment of transformation. A moment where the runner finally stops running. Not because they caught something, because they collapsed. Let us begin with stage 1, denial on steroids. When an avoidant first loses you, they do not grieve. They celebrate. At least that is what they tell themselves. Finally, I have my space back. No more pressure, no more expectations. They throw themselves into work, into hobbies, into anything that fills the hours. They post pictures of themselves having fun. They laugh louder with friends. They look like someone who won a prize. But here is the psychological trap. This happiness is not real. It is relief. And relief is not the same as joy. Relief is the absence of pain. Joy is the presence of something meaningful. They mistake one for the other. And that mistake costs them everything. You see, the human brain cannot sustain false emotion forever. After the relief fades, something creeps in. Boredom. Not the boredom of having nothing to do. The boredom of having nothing that matters. Every conversation feels shallow. Every laugh feels hollow. Every night feels longer than the one before. They start to notice a hole. Not a loud hole, a quiet one. The shape of you. Here is the first sign that denial is failing. They check your profile. Just once. Just to see. They tell themselves it means nothing. Curiosity, that is all. But curiosity is the cousin of longing, and longing is the enemy of avoidance. Let me pause here and give you your reward for watching this far. What I am about to share is not common knowledge. Most people think avoidance never hurt. They think avoidance move on like robots. That is a lie, a dangerous lie that makes you feel worthless. The truth is, avoidance hurt deeper than most. They just hurt later. While you cry in week 1, they cry in month 3. Your pain is early. Theirs is delayed. But delayed pain is not weak pain. It is stored pain. And stored pain explodes. Keep watching. Because stage 2 is where the explosion begins. Stage 2 is called the leak. The avoidant has spent weeks telling themselves they are fine. Their friends believe them. Their coworkers believe them. They almost believe themselves. But the body does not lie. They start sleeping poorly. They wake up at 3 in the morning for no reason. Their appetite changes. They feel tired even after resting. These are physical symptoms of suppressed grief. The mind can lie, the body cannot. And then comes the first real memory. Not a forced memory, not something they tried to recall, an ambush. Maybe they hear a song you liked. Maybe they see someone wearing your perfume. Maybe they drive past a restaurant you visited together. And suddenly they cannot breathe. Their chest tightens. Their throat closes. For a few seconds they forget where they are. They are back in a moment with you, a real moment, a happy moment. This is the leak, emotion pushing through the cracks. They try to stop it. They change the song. They look away. They drive faster. But the damage is done. The door has opened a tiny crack. And through that crack you enter. Not as a memory, as a missing limb. Here is the psychology behind this. Avoidants use something called emotional suppression. They push feelings down like a beach ball underwater. but the harder you push, the higher it eventually flies. Suppression works for a while, then it fails spectacularly. The beach ball shoots up and hits them in the face. That is the leak. That is the beginning of the end of their denial. Now let me tell you about stage 3, the obsession. Most people think avoidants do not obsess. They do, just differently. An anxious person obsesses openly. They call, they text, they drive by your house. An avoidant obsesses privately, in their head, on a loop. They replay conversations from months ago. They think about what they should have said. They imagine alternate endings where they stayed. Their mind becomes a movie theater showing the same film every night, and they cannot buy a different ticket. Here is what they obsess about specifically. Not your good moments, your quiet moments. The time you fell asleep on their shoulder. The way you said their name softly. The morning you made them coffee without being asked. These moments haunt them because they were real, unplanned, unscripted, just pure connection. And now that connection is gone, they realize how rare it was. They start doing strange things. They keep old messages. They look at old photos, but only for a second. They type out messages to you late at night and delete them before morning. They check if you have blocked them. They wonder if you have moved on. And the thought of you moving on creates a feeling they cannot name. It is not jealousy, it is deeper. It is the realization that they are replaceable. And nothing shatters an avoidance pride like knowing someone else could take their place. This obsession is exhausting. It follows them to work. It sits next to them at dinner. It lies down in their bed. They cannot escape it because the obsession is not coming from outside. It is coming from inside, from a place they thought they killed long ago, their own heart. Let me be honest with you, stage 3 is painful to watch, but it is also necessary. The obsession is their mind forcing them to feel what they refuse to feel. It is a reckoning. And every avoidant who ever truly loved someone goes through this reckoning. The ones who did not love you? They skip this stage entirely. They move on and never look back. So if you are wondering whether you mattered, look for the obsession. If they are stuck on you in secret, you mattered, more than they ever admitted. Now stage 4, the collapse. This is the moment you have been waiting for. The moment the avoidant finally breaks. Not a small crack, a full collapse. Everything they built to protect themselves falls apart in one instant. And that instant looks different for everyone. For some, it happens in a parking lot after work. They sit in their car, hands on the steering wheel, and suddenly tears come. Not pretty tears, ugly tears. The kind that shake your whole body. For others, it happens in the middle of the night. They wake up from a dream about you and realize they cannot go back to sleep. They lie there until sunrise, feeling every second of your absence. What causes the collapse? A trigger, something small, a date that meant something, a gift they never threw away, a message they sent by accident. Or sometimes, nothing at all. The weight just becomes too heavy. The beach ball finally flies too high, and they break. In that moment, they do 3 things they swore they would never do. First, they admit the truth to themselves. I miss them. Not the idea of them, not the comfort. Them. Specifically them. Second, they feel regret. Not the shallow regret of losing something convenient. Deep regret. The kind that asks, what did I do? Third, they want to reach out. Not to fix things, not to explain. Just to hear your voice. Just to know you exist. Here is the most important thing you need to understand about the collapse. It does not mean they are healed. It does not mean they know how to love you properly. It only means one thing. They have stopped lying to themselves. And stopping the lie is the first step toward any real change. But here is your warning. Many avoidants collapse alone. They feel everything. They cry. They ache. And then they wake up the next morning and rebuild the wall. They go back to denial, back to suppression, back to pretending, because collapse is terrifying. And terror makes people run back to what is familiar, even if what is familiar is a prison. So what determines whether the collapse leads to growth or just another cycle? 2 things. First, how tired they are of their own patterns. Second, whether you are still available. If you have moved on, their collapse often turns into permanent regret. They live with the memory of you forever. They compare everyone to you. They never say it out loud, but you become the ghost that haunts every relationship after. That is not revenge. That is simply how attachment works. You cannot unlove someone who truly touched your heart. You can only bury the love. And buried things grow roots. If you are still available when they collapse, you have a choice, a difficult choice, to let them back or to protect yourself. There is no right answer, only your answer. But know this, even if they come back, the old patterns will return unless they do serious work on themselves. Missing you badly is not the same as knowing how to keep you. One is emotion, the other is skill, and skills take practice. You have been waiting for them to break. You thought their breaking would feel like victory, but now you see. Their breaking is not about you winning. It is about them losing the only defense they ever knew. And watching someone you cared about lose their defense is not always satisfying. Sometimes it is just sad. Two people who could have been happy, derailed by fear, stopped by walls, ruined by patterns neither one chose. In the next section, we will explore what happens after the collapse. Do they reach out? What do they say? How should you respond? And most importantly, how do you know if their missing you is real or just another wave of temporary emotion? You are learning things today that most people never understand. Things that would have saved you months of confusion. Keep watching. The clarity you have been searching for is in the next part. And it will give you back your power, not over them, over yourself. That is the only power worth having.